The first thing I noticed was the crowd forming a useless circle around the collapsed man on the sidewalk. Typical New York. Dozens of people with phones out filming, nobody actually helping. I pushed through, my nursing instincts overriding the voice in my head that said not to get involved on my day off. But 3 years working ER at Mount Sinai had trained that instinct out of me. When someone needed help, you helped. Call 911, I shouted to no one and everyone, dropping to my knees beside the man. Mid-30s, expensive suit, no visible injuries. I pressed 2 fingers to his neck, searching for a pulse. Nothing. Has anyone called an ambulance? I looked up at the circle of useless spectators. I did, a teenager offered, holding up his phone. Like 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes was too long. I positioned my hands on the man's chest, lacing my fingers, and started compressions. 30 pumps, hard and fast. Then I tilted his head back, checked his airway, and gave 2 rescue breaths. His lips were cold against mine, his chest unresponsive. I went back to compressions, counting under my breath, sweat already beading on my forehead despite the October chill. Come on, I muttered. Don't you dare die on a sidewalk. Someone in the crowd was narrating for their social media. Oh my God. She's like actually doing CPR. This is crazy. I ignored them, focused entirely on the rhythm. 30 and 2. 30 and 2. My arms burned, my back ached, but I didn't stop. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably 3 minutes, I felt it, his chest rising on its own, a gasping breath, his body convulsing as life rushed back in. I rolled him into the recovery position as he coughed and sputtered. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Ambulance is coming. His eyes opened, dark, almost black, disoriented and confused. They focused on my face with startling intensity. You, he rasped, his voice rough. You just saved the wrong man. What? I leaned closer. Sir, you need to stay still. You had cardiac arrest. His hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength for someone who'd been dead 2 minutes ago. Run, he whispered urgently. Before they get here. Run. Before who gets here. Sir, you're confused. That's normal after... Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. His grip on my wrist tightened almost painfully. Please. You don't understand what you've done. His dark eyes held mine. And I saw something that made my blood run cold. Genuine fear. Run. Now. Then his eyes rolled back and he passed out again. The ambulance arrived seconds later, paramedics taking over with professional efficiency. I gave them a quick rundown. Approximate downtime, CPR administered, return of spontaneous circulation, then stepped back to let them work. You did good, one of the paramedics said, as they loaded him onto the gurney. Saved his life. I should have felt proud. Should have felt the satisfaction of a life saved. Instead, his words echoed in my head. You just saved the wrong man. What did that mean? A police officer approached, notebook out. Miss, I need to get your statement. You're the one who performed CPR? Yes, I'm a nurse. I just happened to be walking by. I gave him my information mechanically, my mind still on the man's terrified expression. Did he say anything to you? Before he lost consciousness? I hesitated. Something stopped me from repeating his words. Just confused babbling. He was disoriented. The officer nodded, making notes. We'll need to follow up. You might be called as a witness if there's an investigation into what caused his collapse. Investigation? Guy in a $5,000 suit collapses on the street in broad daylight? Could be drugs, could be foul play. We check everything. He handed me his card. Thanks for your help, Miss Chen. Most people wouldn't have stopped. After he left, I stood on the sidewalk, watching the ambulance disappear into traffic. The crowd had dispersed, the excitement over. Just another Tuesday in Manhattan. I should have gone home. Should have continued my day off. Maybe grabbed the coffee I'd been heading for when this happened. Instead, I found myself thinking about those dark eyes, that desperate grip on my wrist, the fear in his voice. You just saved the wrong man. My phone buzzed. A text from my roommate, Zara. Still on for dinner tonight? I'm making that Thai curry you love. I typed back. Definitely. Home by 6. But as I walked toward the subway, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that I'd just stepped into something dangerous without realizing it. I was right. That evening, I was chopping vegetables in our tiny kitchen while Zara commanded the stove, when someone knocked on our apartment door. Loud, authoritative knocking that made us both freeze. "Expecting someone?" Zara asked. "No." I wiped my hands on a towel, moving to the door. Through the peephole, I saw two men in dark suits that screamed either federal agents or mob. In New York, it was honestly hard to tell the difference sometimes. "Miss Maya Chen?" One of them called through the door. My stomach dropped. "Who's asking?" "We need to speak with you about an incident this afternoon." "Please open the door." I looked back at Zara, who mouthed, "Cops?" I shrugged, unlocking the door but keeping the chain on. "Can I see identification?" The man closer to the door held up a badge, but something about it looked wrong. The font wasn't quite right, the photo slightly off. "I'm not opening this door," I said firmly. "If you're really police, you can contact me through official channels." "Miss Chen, this is urgent. The man you saved this afternoon is being treated at a hospital. If you have questions, talk to the doctors." "He's missing," the second man said. "Left the hospital against medical advice. We believe he may try to contact you." "Why would he contact me? I don't even know him." "Nevertheless, if he does, you need to call this number immediately." A business card slid under the door. "For your own safety." "My safety?" "What?" But they were already walking away, their footsteps echoing in the stairwell. I picked up the card. No agency listed, just a phone number. Definitely not official. What the hell was that about? Zara appeared beside me, eyes wide. "I have no idea." I told her about the man on the street, the CPR, his strange warning. He told me I'd saved the wrong man. That I should run. Okay, that's creepy. And now fake cops are at our door? Zara grabbed her phone. "We should call the real police." "And tell them what?" "That I helped someone who then disappeared from a hospital." I stared at the business card. Maybe I should call this number, find out what's going on. Or maybe you should do literally anything except that. Zara took the card from my hand. "Maya, you're the smartest person I know, but sometimes you have zero self-preservation instincts. Mysterious men warn you to run, fake cops show up at your door, and you want to call their number?" She was right. Of course she was right. My phone rang, an unknown number. Against every ounce of common sense, I answered. "Hello? Miss Chen." The voice was male, deep, with an accent I couldn't place. "You performed CPR on a man today. Adrian Volkov. I need to know everything he said to you." "Who is this?" "Someone who will pay you $50,000 for information, or make your life very difficult if you don't cooperate." The threat was delivered casually, like offering coffee or death was equally mundane. What did Volkov say? Nothing. He was confused, disoriented. "Don't lie to me, Miss Chen." I know he was conscious for at least 30 seconds before the ambulance arrived. "What did he say?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "He said I saved the wrong man, that I should run." "That's all?" Silence on the other end, then. "Did he say where he was going?" "No." "Did he give you anything? A phone number, an address, anything?" "No, he grabbed my wrist and told me to run." "That's it." I looked at Zara, who was frantically gesturing at me to hang up. "I don't know anything else." "You should have listened to his advice," the voice said quietly. "You should have run, because now you're involved, whether you want to be or not." The call ended. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. "Zara, I think I'm in serious trouble." "Yeah, no shit." She was already packing a bag. "We're leaving. Right now. We'll stay at my boyfriend's place until we figure out what to do. We can't just..." A crash from the living room cut me off. We both spun toward the sound, and I felt my heart stop. Our window was broken, glass scattered across the floor. And standing in our living room, glass crunching under his expensive shoes, was the man from the street, Adrian Volkov. He looked better than he had on the sidewalk, color back in his face, moving with controlled strength, but there was something wild in his dark eyes, desperate. "I told you to run," he said, his accent Russian, I realized now. "Why didn't you listen?" "Because I live here," I managed, trying to sound braver than I felt. "And you're breaking and entering. They'll be here soon." Maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. They know you saved me, which means they think I might have told you something. He moved closer, and I saw he was favoring his left side. Did I tell you anything? Just that I saved the wrong man. You did. You should have let me die. But something in his expression softened. But you didn't, and now I owe you a life debt, which is why I'm here to get you out before they arrive. Before who arrives? People who will torture you for information you don't have. Who will kill you just to send me a message? He grabbed my arm, the same spot he'd gripped earlier. So we're leaving. Now. Like hell, Zara interjected, brandishing our kitchen knife. Get away from her or I'll... You'll what, stab me? He pulled back his jacket, revealing a gun holstered at his side. I'm trying to save her life. You can come too if you want, but we're leaving. Right now. As if on cue, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy boots, multiple sets, moving fast. Adrian's expression hardened. Out of time. Fire escape, move. He pushed me toward the window he'd broken. And every survival instinct I had screamed at me to resist, to run the other direction, to call for help. But something in his eyes, that same desperate fear I'd seen on the sidewalk, made me climb through the broken window onto the fire escape. Zara followed, still clutching her knife, and Adrian came last, moving with surprising speed for someone who'd been clinically dead hours ago. We descended 3 floors as our apartment door crashed in above us, voices shouting in what sounded like Russian. Keep moving, Adrian urged, practically lifting me down the last ladder to the alley below. A black car was waiting, engine running, driver barely visible through tinted windows. Adrian shoved us both into the back seat, climbing in after us. Drive, he barked in Russian. The car peeled out of the alley, and I watched through the rear window as men appeared on our fire escape. Too late to catch us. What the fuck is happening? Zara demanded, still holding her knife. Adrian was on his phone, speaking rapid Russian. When he finished, he turned to us, and I saw exhaustion and pain breaking through his controlled facade. What's happening is that you saved my life today, which put a target on your back. And now you're both in danger because the organization I betrayed thinks I might have told you where I hid 50 million of their money. 50 million. Zara's voice came out as a squeak. Did you? I asked. Tell me where it is? No, but they don't know that. He pulled out his gun, checking the clip with practiced ease. So until I can prove you're not a threat to them, you're both staying with me. Under my protection. Protection or kidnapping, I shot back. Both. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Welcome to my world, Miss Chen. You saved the wrong man, and now you're going to find out exactly what that means. The safe house was in Brooklyn, a nondescript brownstone in a neighborhood that looked too normal for criminals and kidnap victims. Adrian led us inside, his gun still drawn, checking corners with military precision before allowing us further. Upstairs, he directed. 2nd floor, bedroom on the right. I'm not going anywhere until you explain what's happening. I planted my feet, channeling every ounce of stubborn determination my mother had always said would get me in trouble. He turned, those dark eyes assessing me. You want explanations? Fine, I'm Adrian Volkov, former accountant for the Petrov crime family. I embezzled $50 million over 3 years, moved it offshore and was planning to disappear. But they found out, tried to kill me with a poison that causes cardiac arrest. He gestured to himself. Should have worked, but you happened to be walking by. So they'll come after me because you told them I have the money? No. They'll come after you because you saved my life. Which means I might trust you. Which means I might have told you where the money is. He leaned against the wall, and I noticed how pale he was. The poison is still in my system. I shouldn't have left the hospital, but staying meant they'd find me. You need medical attention. My nurse brain kicked in automatically. You could have another cardiac event. I have medication, and I have you if necessary. His smile was grim. You're a nurse, yes? I did my research while hiding in your building's basement for 3 hours. You were in our basement? Waiting to see who showed up at your apartment. The fake cops were scouts, confirming your location before the real team arrived. He pushed away from the wall with visible effort. Now bedroom. I need to secure this location. Zara grabbed my arm. Maya, we need to call the police. This is insane. And tell them what? That a dying criminal broke into our apartment to save us from other criminals who think we know where $50 million is hidden? I shook my head. We're in this now. Listen to your friend, Adrian said, already heading upstairs. She has good survival instincts. The bedroom was surprisingly comfortable. Queen bed, attached bathroom, even a TV. But the barred windows and reinforced door made it clear this was a gilded cage. Stay here tonight, Adrian said from the doorway. Don't try to leave, don't call anyone. I'll bring food shortly. After he left, locking the door with an audible click, Zara turned on me. Good survival instincts? Maya, we just got kidnapped. He saved us. Those men would have... I stopped, not wanting to finish that thought. At least here we're alive. For how long? Until he decides we're a liability? She paced the room. We need a plan. We need to escape. And go where? Back to our apartment, where the Russian mob knows we live? I sat on the bed, exhaustion finally hitting me. Zara, I think he's telling the truth. I think we're safer here than anywhere else right now. You trust him because you saved his life. But that doesn't make him a good guy, Maya. He admitted to stealing $50 million. From criminals. He stole from criminals. I lay back, staring at the ceiling. Not saying that makes it right, but it's not like he robbed innocent people. You're defending him. Oh my God, you're defending our kidnapper. Maybe I was. But something about Adrian Volkov didn't feel evil. Dangerous, yes. Criminal, absolutely. But when he'd looked at me with those desperate eyes and said I should have let him die, I'd seen something human beneath the cold exterior. I'd saved his life. And now, apparently, he was trying to save mine. Adrian returned an hour later with Thai takeout that made me suspicious about how he knew that was Zara's specialty. He'd clearly done thorough research on both of us. Eat, he said, setting containers on the dresser. You'll need your strength tomorrow. Tomorrow? I opened the pad thai, my stomach betraying me with a growl. What happens tomorrow? I prove to the Petrov family that you know nothing, which removes the target from your backs. He leaned against the doorframe, looking exhausted. Or I fail, and we all die. Super reassuring, Zara muttered. I don't deal in false comfort. He pulled out a bottle of pills, dry swallowing too. I'm going to sleep for 4 hours. Don't try to escape. There are men watching the building and they're not mine. After he left, Zara and I ate in tense silence. Finally, she spoke quietly. He's going to get us killed. Maybe. But he's also the only reason we're still alive. I set down my food. Those men who broke into our apartment, Zara, they weren't coming to ask polite questions. I know. Her voice was small. I'm scared. Me too. I moved to sit beside her. But we're going to be okay. We have to be. Neither of us believed it. I barely slept, jerking awake at every sound. Around 3 a.m., I heard a crash from downstairs. Then voices, angry, arguing in Russian. I pressed my ear to the door, trying to make out what was happening. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. The door burst open, and Adrian stood there, gun in hand, blood trickling from his temple. Get up. We're leaving. Now, what happened? They found us. Out the window onto the roof, move. He grabbed a bag from under the bed, clearly pre-packed for this contingency. Zara and I scrambled to follow as he opened the window, revealing a fire escape that led to the roof. More crashes from below. The sound of men searching getting closer. Adrian went first, then helped us both onto the fire escape. Quietly. Quickly. We climbed to the roof as voices filled the bedroom we'd just left. On the rooftop, Adrian led us across to the next building, then the next, putting distance between us and the safe house that was no longer safe. Finally, on the third building, he stopped. Down through here. He opened a rooftop access door that shouldn't have been unlocked. Stairwell to the street, then we run. Run where? I gasped, my lungs burning from the climb. Somewhere they won't think to look. His dark eyes met mine. Trust me, I did. God help me, I did. We emerged on a different street, the pre-dawn darkness hiding us as we hurried to another waiting car. How many did he have staged around the city? This time, he drove, taking turns seemingly at random, constantly checking mirrors. In the back seat, Zara gripped my hand so hard it hurt. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Queens. I have a place there, more secure." He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "How are you with needles?" "I'm a nurse. Why?" "Because I need you to start an IV. The poison is progressing faster than expected." He pulled into an underground garage, the door closing behind us with finality. "And I need to stay conscious long enough to fix the situation." The Queen's safe house was better equipped. Medical supplies, communications equipment, enough food for weeks. Adrian led us to a bedroom that had clearly been set up as a medical space, complete with a hospital bed and monitoring equipment. "In the cabinet, you'll find everything you need." He sat on the bed, already rolling up his sleeve. "I need fluids, electrolytes, and there's an antidote that should counteract the remaining poison." My hands shook as I gathered supplies, but years of nursing training steadied me. I inserted the IV with practiced efficiency, hanging the fluids, checking his vitals. His pulse was weak, irregular, blood pressure too low. He was in worse shape than he'd let on. "You should be in a hospital," I said, injecting the antidote he'd indicated. "Hospital equals death warrant." His eyes were starting to glaze. "Maya, listen carefully. In my jacket pocket, there's a phone. Encrypted. If something happens to me, if I don't wake up, call the only number programmed. Tell them where the money is." "I don't know where it is." "Yes, you do. I told you on the street." His breathing was becoming labored. "Think about what I said." My exact words. I replayed the moment, his hand gripping my wrist, those desperate eyes, his raspy voice saying, "What exactly?" "You said I saved the wrong man, that I should run. Before that. Right before." His eyes locked on mine with intense focus. "What did I say, Maya?" I closed my eyes, trying to remember through the chaos and fear. He'd opened his eyes, looked at me, and said, "You said you." My eyes flew open. "Just you." But it sounded like, "Oh my God, you?" He smiled weakly. "Offshore account, numbered. The number is you. Your birthday, social security number, nursing license number, all public information. I memorized them while researching you." "You hid $50 million in an account numbered after my personal information?" "Insurance policy. If I died, if something happened, the money would eventually find its way to you. You saved my life. You earned it." His eyes were closing. "Phone. Call if I don't wake up. Tell them the account numbers. They'll protect you. Who will protect me?" But he was unconscious, his vitals still weak but stabilizing. I adjusted the IV drip, monitoring his heart rate, falling into the familiar routine of patient care. Zara appeared with coffee. "Is he going to make it?" "I don't know. The antidote is working, but there's already been significant cardiac damage." I took the coffee gratefully. He's been operating on adrenaline and spite for the last 12 hours. And now he's told you where the money is. She sat beside me. "Which makes you even more of a target." "I know." I pulled out the encrypted phone. One number programmed, labeled simply L. He said to call if something happens. That they'll protect us. They who? No idea, but we're about to find out. Adrian didn't wake for 6 hours. During that time, I kept his IV running, monitored his vitals, and tried not to think about the fact that I was nursing a criminal who dragged us into his dangerous world. When he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he said was, "You're still here." Where else would I be? "You're my patient." I helped him sit up slowly. "The antidote is working. Your heart rhythm is stabilizing. Lucky for me, you're competent." He accepted water gratefully. "Did you call?" "No, you're alive." I pulled out the phone anyway. "Who is Elle?" "My sister. Former Interpol agent, now private security." He took the phone, typing a message. "She's been helping me plan this for 3 years. She'll take over if I can't finish what I started." "Which is what exactly?" "Bringing down the Petrov family. The $50 million is evidence as much as theft. Every transaction tracked, documented, connected to specific crimes." He met my eyes. "I'm not just a thief, Maya. I'm a whistleblower. And you just became part of the most important case against organized crime in a decade." Adrian's sister arrived 6 hours later, appearing without warning in the Queen's safe house like a ghost materializing through walls. One moment Zara and I were watching TV, trying to pretend our lives weren't falling apart. The next, a tall woman with Adrian's dark eyes and a gun holstered at her hip stood in the doorway. "Where is he?" Her accent was softer than Adrian's, mellowed by years away from Russia. "Bedroom. Sleeping." I stood, positioning myself between her and the medical room. "He's recovering from cardiac arrest and poisoning. He needs rest." She studied me with an intensity that rivaled her brother's. "You're the nurse. Maya Chen. You saved his life. Yes. Then I owe you my brother." "That's no small debt." She extended her hand. "Lena Volkova. And before you ask, yes, I was Interpol. Now I'm freelance." I shook her hand, finding her grip firm and confident. "Your brother said you've been helping him for 3 years. Helping him stay alive while he gathered evidence." She moved past me toward the bedroom. "The Petrov family has killed for less than what he's done. The fact that he's survived this long is a miracle." I followed her, watching as she checked Adrian's vitals with professional efficiency. She'd clearly had medical training. "His heart rhythm is still irregular," she observed. "How long since the antidote?" 8 hours. I've been monitoring him continuously." "Good." She turned to face me fully. "My brother tells me he gave you the account information. That makes you extremely valuable and extremely vulnerable. I didn't ask for this. No one ever does. But here we are." She pulled out a tablet, bringing up files. "I need to know exactly what Adrian told you. Every word, every detail." I recounted the conversation, watching her expression remain neutral as I explained the account numbers hidden in my personal information. "Clever," she murmured. "Very Adrian. He always did think 10 steps ahead." She closed the tablet. "Here's the situation. The Petrov family knows you saved him. They've put out word that anyone who brings them information about you gets $100,000. Anyone who brings them you gets $500,000. My stomach dropped. $500,000 for me? You're worth more than the money at this point. Your leverage against Adrian." She leaned against the wall. "Which is why you're staying here, under guard, until we neutralize the threat." "How do you neutralize the Russian mob?" "By giving federal prosecutors everything they need to dismantle the organization. RICO charges, money laundering, murder, human trafficking. Adrian documented it all." Her expression hardened. "But we need the financial records to make the charges stick. Which means accessing that account without the Petrovs intercepting the transfer. Can't you just give the prosecutors the information? Tell them where the money is? We need the actual files." Adrian encrypted them, hid them in the account itself. Only someone with the full account number can access them. She looked at me significantly. "Someone like you. You want me to log into a bank account with 50 million and download files that will bring down the Russian mob?" I laughed, but it came out slightly hysterical. "I'm a nurse. I treat sick people. I don't do international crime fighting. You do now, because those files are the only thing keeping you and your friend alive." Lena pulled up another screen. "Look at this. Security footage from a cafe 2 blocks from your old apartment. That's Viktor Petrov, the youngest son. And that woman he's talking to? She's asking about you." I stared at the grainy footage, watching a cold-faced man in an expensive coat receiving information about my life from a woman I'd never seen before. "They're building a profile," Lena continued. "Your routines, your friends, your family. They'll use all of it to find you, unless we move first." From the bedroom, Adrian's voice called out weakly. "Stop scaring her, Lena. She's already traumatized." His sister rolled her eyes but moved toward the medical room, me following. Adrian was sitting up, color slowly returning to his face, though he still looked like death warmed over. "You look terrible," Lena observed. "You always know how to make a man feel special." He gestured for water, which I provided. "Did you explain the situation?" "I'm explaining why Maya needs to access the account." "She doesn't." Adrian's eyes met mine. "I can do it. Once I'm recovered." "If you live that long," Lena interrupted. "Viktor Petrov has a team sweeping every hospital, clinic, and safe house in the 5 boroughs. They know you need medical care. It's only a matter of time before they find us. Then we move again. Adrian, you can barely sit up. You're not moving anywhere for at least 24 hours." She turned to me. "Which is why Maya needs to do this, tonight, before they narrow down our location." I don't know how to access offshore accounts. I don't know anything about banking, or I'll walk you through it, Lena said. Every step. You just need steady hands and nerves of steel. Well, I have one of those things. Despite the situation, Adrian smiled. You have more courage than you realize. You didn't run when I broke into your apartment. You're still here, caring for a criminal who destroyed your life. That takes strength. Or stupidity. Often the same thing. He reached for my hand, his grip weak but sincere. I never wanted you involved. But you are, and I'm sorry. When this is over, when the Petrovs are arrested and you're safe, I'll make sure you're compensated. The full $50 million is yours. I don't want your blood money. It's not blood money. It's justice money. Every dollar represents a crime documented, a victim avenged, a corrupt official exposed. His dark eyes held mine. Take it. Use it to do good in the world. Build something better from the ashes of something terrible. Before I could respond, Zara appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Maya, you need to see this. She held up her phone, showing a news alert. Manhunt underway for armed and dangerous fugitive Adrian Volkov. Associate Maya Chen, 28, also sought for questioning. My photo was there, my nursing license picture, blown up and grainy. Armed and dangerous associate. Oh my God, I breathed. They think I'm a criminal. The Petrovs have connections in the police department, Lena said grimly. They're using law enforcement to find you for them. So I'm wanted by both the mob and the police. Perfect. I sat heavily on the edge of Adrian's bed. My life is completely destroyed. Not completely, Adrian said quietly. Not if we finish this. Lena, set up the secure connection. We're doing this tonight. 2 hours later, I sat at a laptop in what Lena called the operations room, a spare bedroom filled with enough technology to launch a small satellite. She'd explained the process 3 times, but my hands still shook as I typed in the first sequence of numbers. My birthday, 09-15-1995. Enter. The screen loaded, prompting for the next sequence, my social security number. I typed it carefully, triple-checking each digit before hitting enter. Another screen. This one asked for my nursing license number, which I had to pull from memory, my mind suddenly blank with stress. Take your time, Lena coached. You've typed this number hundreds of times on hospital forms. I closed my eyes, picturing the license in my wallet, visualizing each number. Then I typed, praying I'd remembered correctly. The screen went black. Did I mess up? Then it loaded, a banking interface with numbers that made my head spin. 47,234, 891, and 32. Account balance. I'm in, I whispered. Good. Now look for the documents folder. Adrian would have hidden it in plain sight. Lena leaned over my shoulder, her finger pointing to an icon labeled Medical Records. Medical Records? He has a sense of humor. Open it, I clicked, and folders upon folders appeared, each labeled with dates, names, transaction details. Years of evidence, meticulously documented. Start the download, Lena instructed, inserting an encrypted drive. This will take about 20 minutes. Once it's done, we'll send copies to the FBI, the Treasury Department, and 3 major news outlets simultaneously. And then the Petrov family has bigger problems than hunting you. They'll be too busy trying to avoid federal prison. The download began, a progress bar crawling across the screen with agonizing slowness. Lena stood guard at the door, her hand resting on her gun. In the medical room, Adrian rested but remained conscious, monitoring police scanners for any sign they'd been located. 15 minutes in, the power went out. Backup generator, Lena said immediately, but her voice was tense. Should kick in any second. It didn't. Lena? Adrian called from the other room. We're fine. Just a power issue. But her expression said otherwise. She moved to the window, peering through the blinds. 3 cars just pulled up. Black SUVs. How did they find us? I asked, though I already knew the answer. They'd been tracking us somehow, waiting for us to access the account so they could trace the connection. Maya, grab the laptop. Zara, with me. Lena was already in motion, pulling weapons from hidden compartments. Adrian, can you move? I can move. He appeared in the doorway, looking steadier than he had hours ago, but still pale. He'd found a gun somewhere, held it with the ease of someone who knew how to use it. "The download is only at 87%, I said, watching the progress bar freeze without power. "If we leave now, if we stay, we die. Grab the laptop. We'll finish the download somewhere else." Adrian was already moving toward a back room I'd never seen. "This way. Emergency exit." We followed him through what looked like a closet but opened into a narrow stairwell leading down. Behind us, I heard the front door being breached, voices shouting in Russian. "Faster," Adrian urged, though I could see the strain on his face. The exertion was too much too soon. We emerged in a sub-basement, a tunnel stretching ahead into darkness. Lena produced flashlights, handing them out as we ran. "Where does this lead?" Zara gasped. "Subway maintenance tunnel, 2 blocks over. We'll come up in a different neighborhood." Adrian was breathing hard, his hand pressed to his chest. Behind us, footsteps echoed in the stairwell. "They'd found the escape route. Keep moving," Lena commanded, bringing up the rear, her gun trained on the tunnel behind us. We ran through darkness. The laptop clutched to my chest, Zara's hand gripping mine. Adrian stumbled, and I caught him, feeling his heart racing dangerously fast beneath my palm. "You need to rest. No time." He pushed forward, but I could see he was fading fast. Gunshots rang out, deafeningly loud in the confined space. Lena returned fire, her shots precise and controlled. "Go," she shouted. "I'll hold them off." "Lena, no." Adrian tried to turn back. "Protect the evidence." "Protect her." Lena fired again, and I heard a body drop behind us. "Go!" Adrian hesitated only a second before pulling me forward. We ran, leaving his sister to face however many men were chasing us, the sound of gunfire echoing through the tunnel like thunder. Finally, we reached a ladder leading up. Adrian climbed first, his movements slow and pained, then pulled us up into a maintenance closet. We emerged in a subway station, commuters flowing past, oblivious to the 3 people who'd just escaped through a service entrance. "Blend in," Adrian directed, tucking his gun away. "Walk normally. We're just 3 people heading home from work." But I couldn't stop looking back, waiting for Lena to emerge from that closet. She never did. We ended up in a cheap motel in Newark, the kind that rented rooms by the hour and didn't ask questions. Adrian paid cash, his hand shaking as he passed bills to the disinterested clerk. The moment we were inside room 247, he collapsed onto the bed, his face gray. "Adrian!" I dropped the laptop, rushing to check his pulse. Too fast, too irregular. "You overdid it. Your heart can't handle this kind of stress so soon after—" "Lena," he gasped. "We have to go back for Lena." She told us to run. She was covering our escape. I pulled out the medical supplies we'd grabbed. "Let me start another IV. You're dehydrated and your electrolytes are—" My sister could be dead because of me. He tried to sit up, but his body wasn't cooperating. I should have stayed. I should have fought with her. "You would have died. We all would have." I inserted the IV with practiced efficiency, my nurse training overriding my own fear and grief. She made a choice. Honor it by staying alive. Zara had the laptop open, her fingers flying across keys. "The download stopped at 87%. Can we restart it from here?" "Not without power and a secure connection," Adrian said weakly. "We need to find another safe house, somewhere with proper equipment." "Every safe house you have is compromised," I pointed out. "They found the Queen's location. They'll find anywhere else you've prepared. Then we go somewhere I haven't prepared, somewhere they won't think to look." His dark eyes found mine. "Maya, where would you go if you needed to disappear?" "Somewhere personal. Somewhere that means something to you." I thought about it, then realized the answer immediately. "My uncle's cabin, upstate in the Catskills. He died 2 years ago, left it to me in his will. I've never even been there, just paid the property taxes through my lawyer." "Perfect. Obscure connection, rural location, probably has power and internet." Adrian struggled to sit up. "How far? 2 hours? Maybe 3? I checked my phone, then remembered I'd left it behind at the Queen's safe house, along with everything that could be traced. "We'll need a car." "I can get us a car," Zara said quietly. She'd been silent since escaping the tunnel, her face pale, her hands shaking. "My boyfriend Chris, he has a car. I can call him, ask him to meet us." No calls, Adrian said immediately. They're monitoring everyone connected to you. Friends, family, coworkers, anyone you might reach out to. Then what? We steal a car? Zara's voice was rising, stress finally breaking through. We're not criminals, Adrian. We're just normal people who got dragged into your mess. I know. His voice was soft, genuinely regretful. I know, and I'm sorry. If I could undo it. If I could have died on that sidewalk and left you both safe. But you didn't die, I interrupted. And we're here and we need to deal with reality. So how do we get a car without getting caught? Adrian was quiet for a moment, then... We rent one. Different name, different location. I have identification that's clean, cards that aren't traced to my real identity. More fake IDs? How many do you have? Enough to survive. He closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling at him. But I need a few hours. The IV, the medication, I need to stabilize before we move again. I checked his vitals. He was right. His heart rate was still dangerously high, his blood pressure dropping. Moving him now could trigger another cardiac event. 4 hours, I said firmly. You rest, let the medication work. Then we go. While Adrian slept fitfully, Zara and I sat in the motel's dingy bathroom, the only place we could talk without waking him. We should leave, Zara whispered. While he's asleep. Just run. And go where? They have my photo on the news, Zara. We're both wanted for questioning. Running makes us look guilty. We are guilty. We helped a criminal escape custody. Her eyes were wild. Maya, his sister, might be dead. People are dying because of us. People are dying because the Petrov family are murderers, I corrected. We didn't start this. We just got caught in it. So what's your plan? Hide in a cabin and hope it all goes away? My plan is to finish what Lena died trying to protect. We download the rest of those files, we send them to the FBI, and we end this. I grabbed her shoulders. Zara, I know you're scared. I'm terrified too, but running won't save us. Only finishing this will. You sound like him, like Adrian. She pulled away. You're starting to think like a criminal. Maybe I was. But I was also thinking like a survivor. 3 hours later, Adrian's vitals had stabilized enough to risk moving. He looked better. Color in his face, steadier movements. But I could see the grief weighing on him. He kept checking his phone, hoping for word from Lena that never came. She might have gotten away, I offered as we prepared to leave. She didn't. His voice was flat. If she'd escaped, she would have signaled by now. We had protocols. I'm sorry. She knew the risks. We both did. He pocketed the phone. She'd want us to finish this. To make her sacrifice mean something. The car rental went smoothly. Too smoothly. Adrian used the name Marcus Webb, complete with driver's license and credit card. The clerk barely looked at him, more interested in her phone than the transaction. We drove north as the sun set, taking back roads to avoid tolls and traffic cameras. Adrian insisted on driving despite my protests, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes constantly checking mirrors. Tell me about your uncle, he said after an hour of silence. The one who left you the cabin. Uncle James. My mom's brother. He was kind of the family eccentric, lived alone in the mountains, painted watercolors, taught himself carpentry. I smiled at the memory. He used to send me postcards from random places, always with some weird philosophical quote on them. Sounds like a good man. He was, when I came out to my parents as bi. He was the only one who didn't make it weird. Just sent me a postcard that said, "Love is love is love," with a rainbow he'd painted. My throat tightened. He died of a stroke, alone in that cabin. They didn't find him for 3 days. And you inherited it but never visited? Couldn't face it. Kept meaning to, but work was always too busy. And then David happened and... I trailed off. I guess I was afraid of seeing the place he loved empty. Maybe it won't feel empty, Adrian said quietly. Maybe it will feel like he's still there, in the walls and the trees, waiting to meet you finally. The sentiment, coming from a man who'd killed someone in cold blood just days ago, caught me off guard. That's surprisingly poetic for a criminal. I read a lot in prison. Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Nabokov. The Russians understand suffering and redemption better than anyone. He glanced at me. You think I'm just a criminal, a bad man who corrupted 2 innocent women? I think you're complicated. That's generous. A pause. For what it's worth, I didn't start out planning to become this. I was just an accountant who noticed discrepancies, money disappearing, bodies piling up, and no one doing anything because the Petrovs own half the police department. His hands tightened on the wheel. I tried going through proper channels. I reported what I found. Know what happened? Nothing? Worse than nothing. The detective I reported to was on Petrov's payroll. They came after my family. Killed my parents, tortured my sister. She survived, but she was never the same. He was quiet for a moment, so I decided if the law wouldn't stop them, I would. I went to work for them directly, gained their trust, and spent 3 years documenting every crime, every payoff, every murder, building a case that even corrupt officials couldn't ignore, and stealing $50 million in the process. That part was personal. They took my family, I took their money. He smiled grimly. I'm not a hero, Maya, but I'm not a monster either. I'm just a man who decided he'd rather die fighting than live in fear. We reached the cabin around 11 p.m. It was exactly as I'd imagined. Small, weathered, surrounded by tall pines, with a stream audible in the distance. Uncle James had chosen his isolation well. The key was where my lawyer said it would be, under a rock shaped like a turtle near the porch. Inside, dust covered everything, but the bones of the place were solid. Wood-burning stove, comfortable furniture, walls lined with my uncle's paintings. It's perfect, Adrian said, immediately assessing security. Windows, doors, sightlines. Remote, defensible, and they'd never think to look here. While he and Zara set up the laptop, I explored. My uncle's presence was everywhere. In the book stacked by his reading chair, the half-finished painting on an easel, even a coffee mug still sitting in the sink. I found myself crying, finally allowing the grief and fear and exhaustion of the past few days to surface. I'd been so focused on survival that I hadn't processed what had happened. The murder I'd witnessed, the flight through dark tunnels, Lena's sacrifice, my normal life destroyed completely. Maya? Adrian's voice was soft behind me. We have power and internet. We can restart the download. I wiped my eyes, turning to face him. And then what? We send the files and hope the FBI moves fast enough to arrest them before they find us. We send the files, we call the media, we make so much noise that the Petrovs can't silence us without drawing more attention. He moved closer. And then, if we survive, you get to decide what happens next. You can testify, help put them away, or you can disappear, take the money, build a new life somewhere they'll never find you. What about you? I'm already dead, Maya. The moment I stole from them, my life ended. I'm just making sure my death means something. He reached out, gently wiping a tear from my cheek. But you? You have a future. A real one. I'll make sure of it. How? By dying to protect me? If necessary. His dark eyes held mine. You saved my life. The least I can do is ensure yours is worth living. Before I could respond, Zara called from the main room. Downloads at 93%. Should finish in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes until we had everything we needed to bring down the Petrov family. 10 minutes until my life changed forever, one way or another. Adrian squeezed my shoulder, then went to monitor the download. I stood alone in my uncle's kitchen, surrounded by memories of a man who'd chosen solitude over compromise, peace over profit. I wondered what he'd think of his niece now, harboring criminals and planning to expose the Russian mob. Would he be proud? Horrified? Through the window, I saw car headlights in the distance, moving slowly up the mountain road. Too slowly, too carefully. Adrian, I called, my voice sharp with fear. We have company. He was beside me in seconds, his gun already drawn. We watched as 3 black SUVs emerged from the tree line, surrounding the cabin with military precision. How? Zara breathed. How did they find us? The download, Adrian said grimly. They must have been monitoring for any attempt to access the account again. Trace the connection. He checked his gun. Downloads at 97%. We need 3 more minutes. We don't have 3 minutes. I could see men emerging from the vehicles, at least a dozen of them, all armed. Then we make 3 minutes. He turned to us. Upstairs. There's an attic access. Hide there until it's over. Over. Adrian, there's 12 of them and 1 of you. 2. Zara appeared with a rifle she'd found in my uncle's closet. I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. I know how to shoot. Absolutely not. I started. Maya, get the laptop. Get upstairs. Let us buy you time to finish the download. Adrian's voice left no room for argument. This is what Lena died for. Don't let it be for nothing. Outside, a megaphone crackled to life. Adrian Volkov! Send out the women and we'll let you die quickly. Comforting offer, Adrian muttered. Then to me, go, now. I'm not leaving you. You are. Because you're the only one who can finish this. The files, the evidence, getting it to the right people. That's your job now. He gripped my shoulders. Please, Maya. Let me die for something that matters. Tears streamed down my face, but I took the laptop. Don't you dare die, Adrian Volkov. You promised to make sure my life was worth living. You can't do that if you're dead. Something softened in his eyes, a moment of genuine emotion breaking through. Then I'll try very hard to survive. I ran upstairs as the first shots shattered the front windows. The attic was cramped, dusty, and filled with boxes of my uncle's belongings that I'd never sorted through. I wedged myself between stacks of old paintings and focused on the laptop screen, the download crawling toward completion while gunfire erupted below. 8%. I heard Adrian shouting in Russian, his voice strong despite everything. Zara's rifle cracked 3 times in quick succession. Return fire punched through walls, splintering wood and shattering glass. 9%. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the laptop. Any second they'd breach the cabin, overwhelm Adrian and Zara, find me hiding in the attic like a coward while 2 people died protecting me. 100%. Download complete. I immediately started uploading to the cloud storage Lena had set up, copying files to 3 different servers simultaneously. The upload would take at least 5 minutes. 5 minutes I had to stay alive. Below, something exploded. A flashbang or grenade, I couldn't tell. The concussion shook the entire cabin, dust raining from the attic rafters. More gunfire, closer now. They were inside, Adrian's voice hoarse. Upstairs! Don't let her. A grunt of pain, a body hitting the floor. Oh God. Adrian. I clutched the laptop, watching the upload bar inch forward with agonizing slowness. 23%. I needed to survive 3 more minutes. Just 3 more minutes. Footsteps pounded on the stairs below. Men speaking Russian, coordinating their search. They'd find the attic access any second. The laptop screen showed 47% uploaded. Not enough. Not nearly enough. I looked around desperately for somewhere to hide the laptop, somewhere they wouldn't immediately find it. My eyes landed on my uncle's painting supplies, stored in a wooden crate. Quickly, I buried the laptop under paint-stained tarps, propping one of Uncle's unfinished canvases in front of it. From a distance, it would look like random storage, nothing important. The attic door creaked open below. I pressed myself behind a stack of boxes, making myself as small as possible. A man's head appeared through the opening, flashlight sweeping the space. He spotted me immediately. Nasholio, founder. He hauled himself into the attic, gun trained on me. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with cold eyes, and the Petrov family tattoos visible on his neck. Maya Chen, he said in accented English. You've caused us much trouble. I didn't do anything. I just saved a man's life. You helped a traitor. That makes you a traitor too. He grabbed my arm, yanking me toward the opening. Mr. Petrov wants to speak with you before you die. He pushed me down the ladder roughly. I stumbled into the hallway to find the cabin destroyed. Bullet holes in every wall, blood on the floor, furniture overturned. 3 bodies lay sprawled in the main room. Petrov's men, taken down by Adrian and Zara before they were overwhelmed. Zara sat tied to a chair, blood streaming from a cut above her eye, but alive. Her eyes met mine, terrified but defiant. Adrian knelt on the floor, hands zip-tied behind his back, blood soaking through his shirt from at least 2 bullet wounds. He looked up as they dragged me in, something fierce and protective flashing in his dark eyes despite his condition. Leave her alone, he rasped. She knows nothing. Then she won't mind answering some questions. The man who spoke was older, distinguished-looking in an expensive suit that seemed absurdly formal for a cabin raid. Viktor Petrov, I realized. Adrian had shown me his photo. He studied me with calculating interest. Miss Chen, the nurse who started all this trouble. Tell me where Adrian hid the money. I don't know. He used your information to create the account. Surely he told you how to access it. Victor's smile was pleasant, which somehow made him more frightening. We're not unreasonable people. Tell us what we want to know, and we'll let you go. Your friend, too. You're lying. You're going to kill us regardless. Well, yes, but how you die depends on your cooperation. He nodded to one of his men, who grabbed Zara's hand and placed it flat on the armrest. Perhaps you need motivation? No, wait. I lunged forward, but someone grabbed me, holding me immobile. Don't hurt her, please. Then tell me how to access the account. My mind raced. The upload had been at 47% when they found me. Not enough to ensure the files reached the FBI, but maybe enough that something survived. And if I told Victor what he wanted, he'd log into the account, delete everything, destroy all the evidence Lena died protecting. The account numbers are based on my personal information, I said slowly, buying time. Birthday, social security number, nursing license. But they have to be entered in a specific sequence. If you get it wrong 3 times, the account locks permanently. Then you'll enter them yourself. Victor gestured, and someone produced a laptop, setting it on the overturned coffee table. Show me. They untied one of my hands, keeping the other secured. I sat at the laptop, my fingers hovering over keys, my mind calculating odds and options. If I logged in, gave him access, he'd have everything. But if I deliberately entered it wrong, locked the account, the evidence would be inaccessible to everyone, including the FBI. Unless the upload had finished. Unless enough files had reached the servers before they found me, I had to believe they had. Had to trust that those 3 extra minutes Adrian and Zara had bought me were enough. I typed in the first sequence. My birthday, but wrong, transposing 2 numbers. The screen flashed red. Incorrect. 2 attempts remaining. Victor's expression hardened. That was a mistake. I'm nervous. You're pointing guns at me. I let my voice shake, which wasn't difficult. Let me try again. You have 1 more mistake before I start removing your friend's fingers. Choose carefully, I typed again, this time entering my actual birthday, but using the wrong social security number for the second sequence. Red screen. Incorrect. 1 attempt remaining. Last chance, Miss Chen. Victor's hand rested on Zara's shoulder, and she whimpered, tears streaming down her face. I looked at Adrian. He was watching me intently, and I saw understanding in his eyes. He knew what I was doing, knew I was about to lock the account permanently, gambling everything on an upload that might not have finished. He gave the smallest nod. Do it. I typed in completely random numbers for the final sequence. Account locked. Contact administrator to reset access. For a moment, Victor just stared at the screen. Then he moved with shocking speed, his fist connecting with my face hard enough to knock me from the chair. Pain exploded through my jaw, blood filling my mouth. You stupid girl. Do you have any idea what you've done? Protected evidence that will put you in prison. I spat blood, my head ringing. Files are already uploaded. Already sent to the FBI Treasury Department, 3 major newspapers. You're finished. You're bluffing. Am I? I forced myself to smile through the pain. Check your accounts. Your shell corporations. Everything Adrian documented is in federal hands by now. You came here for nothing. Victor's face went white, then red with rage. He grabbed his phone, barking orders in Russian. One of his men rushed to a laptop, typing frantically. Minutes passed. Victor's expression grew darker with each passing second. Sir, his tech person said quietly, the files have been sent. Multiple locations, multiple recipients. It's everywhere. Delete them. By the journalists, threaten the FBI contacts. Sir, it's already public. Someone posted the files to WikiLeaks. They're downloading them everywhere. We can't contain it. Victor went completely still. Then he turned to Adrian, pulling out a gun. This is your fault. All of it. He pressed the gun to Adrian's head. You destroyed my family's empire. Decades of work, gone. Because you couldn't mind your own business. Your empire was built on murder and slavery, Adrian said calmly, despite the gun at his temple. I just exposed what you really are. And now you'll die knowing it accomplished nothing. Because I'm going to kill everyone you protected, starting with her. Victor swung the gun toward me. Everything happened at once. Adrian threw himself forward despite his zip-tied hands, shoulder-checking Victor's legs. The gun fired, the bullet passing inches from my head and shattering a window. Zara screamed, and from outside, a megaphone crackled. FBI, this is a raid. Drop your weapons and exit with your hands raised. Victor's men scattered, some running for exits, others raising weapons to fight. Adrian rolled toward me, his shoulder connecting with my legs, knocking me behind the overturned couch as gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Federal agents swarmed through doors and windows, tactical gear and assault rifles overwhelming Petrov's men within seconds. It was chaos, shouting, gunfire, bodies hitting floors, then silence. A female agent appeared, helping me up. Maya Chen? Are you injured? I'm okay. I looked around frantically. My friend Zara and Adrian were securing the scene. Medical is en route. She guided me toward the door. You're safe now. The files. Did you get the files? We got everything. Treasury, FBI, Interpol, NYPD. Everyone's been getting data dumps for the past hour. Biggest leak of organized crime documentation in history. She smiled slightly. You did good. Outside, the scene was surreal. At least 20 federal vehicles, emergency lights painting the forest in red and blue. Paramedics were loading someone into an ambulance, and I recognized Zara's voice protesting that she was fine. Zara! I ran to her, pulling her into a hug despite the paramedics' protests. You're alive. We're alive. Barely. She was shaking, her face pale. Maya, I shot people. I killed someone. I saw him fall and you saved my life. You bought me time to finish the upload. I squeezed her hands. We did it. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not yet. I found Adrian being loaded into a different ambulance, his condition critical. I pushed past agents, climbing in beside the gurney. Miss, you can't... A paramedic started. I'm a nurse, and he's my patient. I looked at Adrian, his eyes barely open. Stay with me. You promised you'd make my life worth living, remember? Did we win? His voice was barely a whisper. We won. Files are everywhere. Victor's arrested. Lena's sacrifice meant something. Good. His hand found mine. Grip weak. Maya, the money. Account's locked, but I have backup access. It's yours, all of it. Use it well. I'll use it to pay your bail. Get you a good lawyer. He smiled, blood on his teeth. Always the optimist. The ambulance doors closed, sirens wailing as we raced toward the hospital. I held his hand the entire way, monitoring his vitals, talking to him about anything and everything to keep him conscious. Why did you do it? I asked. Risk everything to expose them? Because someone had to. His eyes met mine. And because I met a woman who saved a stranger's life without hesitation, made me remember what it means to be human. I just did CPR. You did more than that. You saw someone dying and refused to let them go. Even when he warned you away, even when it meant danger, you stayed. His grip tightened slightly. That's not just medical training. That's goodness, real goodness. The kind that makes me want to be better than what I was. Then stay alive and be better. The world needs more good people, even former criminals. He laughed, then coughed, blood flecking his lips. The paramedic shot me a worried look. BP's dropping, she said. We need to move faster. The ambulance accelerated, and I squeezed Adrian's hand, silently praying to whatever gods might listen that the man I'd saved on a sidewalk 4 days ago would survive long enough to see the world he'd helped create. One where the Petrov family faced justice, where good people could walk streets without fear, where a nurse could save a life without destroying her own. 3 months later, I stood in front of the federal courthouse in Manhattan, cameras flashing as reporters shouted questions. Beside me, Zara gripped my hand, both of us wearing the conservative suits the prosecutor had insisted on. Behind us, federal agents formed a protective barrier. Miss Chen, is it true you've been given immunity in exchange for testimony? Maya, what's your relationship with Adrian Volkov? Are you afraid of retaliation from the Petrov organization? I ignored them all, following the agents inside where marble halls echoed with our footsteps. Today was the first day of Viktor Petrov's trial, and I was the prosecution's star witness. Adrian would have been here too, if he'd survived. He'd died 3 times in the ambulance that night, each time brought back by paramedics who refused to give up. He'd spent 2 weeks in intensive care, hovering between life and death while federal agents stood guard outside his room. I'd been there when he finally woke up, groggy and confused. His first words, "Did they get Victor?" They had. Victor, his father, his brothers, 17 associates, all arrested within 48 hours of the files going public. The evidence Adrian had compiled was overwhelming. Even corrupt officials couldn't ignore it. Adrian had spent another month recovering before being transferred to a federal facility. Not a prison exactly, but not freedom either. He was a cooperating witness. His fate depended on how useful his testimony proved to be. I hadn't seen him since the transfer. The prosecutor said contact between witnesses could compromise the case. But he'd sent one message through his lawyer, a bank account number and a note that said simply, "Use it well. The $50 million. Somehow, despite the locked account and federal seizure of Petrov assets, Adrian had ensured the money found its way to me. His final insurance policy, executed from behind bars. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Catherine Rodriguez, met us in a conference room. "You both ready? It's going to be intense in there. Defense will try to paint you as accomplices, willing participants in Adrian's schemes. Let them try," Zara said firmly. She'd changed in 3 months, harder, more focused. The woman who'd been terrified in the cabin had been replaced by someone who'd stared down death and refused to blink. "We're telling the truth. That's all that matters." "The truth is you helped a fugitive evade capture," Rodriguez countered. "I've built a narrative that explains your actions as victims under duress, but you need to maintain that narrative. No sympathy for Adrian Volkov. No suggesting his cause was just. He's a criminal who endangered civilians. Understand?" I understood, but I didn't agree. The courtroom was packed. Media, victims' families, curious onlookers drawn to the trial of the decade. Viktor Petrov sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, looking more like a CEO than a mob boss. His eyes found mine, cold and promising violence. I didn't look away. The trial lasted 6 weeks. I testified for 3 days, walking the jury through everything, performing CPR, Adrian's warning, the break-in at my apartment, the escape, the cabin. Rodriguez painted me as an innocent nurse caught in circumstances beyond her control. Victor's defense attorney painted me as Adrian's accomplice and lover, implying I'd known about the money laundering all along. "Isn't it true," he asked during cross-examination, "that you continued to treat Mr. Volkov despite knowing he was a wanted fugitive?" "I'm a nurse. I don't stop treating someone because they've committed crimes." "But you went beyond treatment. You hid him, helped him evade capture, actively participated in his schemes. I participated in staying alive. Viktor Petrov's men threatened to torture and kill me. Adrian Volkov protected me." I looked directly at the jury. "Was he a criminal?" "Yes. But he was also the only thing standing between me and people who wanted to hurt me for witnessing their crimes. Crimes you only witnessed because you chose to get involved. I performed CPR on a dying man. That's not getting involved. That's being a decent human being." The exchange went on for hours, the defense attorney trying to break me refusing to break. Finally, Rodriguez objected enough times that the judge called for recess. In the hallway, I found Zara crying in the bathroom. "I can't do this." When they asked about shooting those men, about killing someone, "Maya, I see his face every night. The man I killed. I can't stop seeing him." "I know." I held her while she sobbed. "But you protected me. You saved my life. That man was trying to kill us. Does that make it okay? Does it? No, it never makes it okay. But it makes it necessary." I pulled back to look at her. "Zara, you're the strongest person I know. You were a graphic designer who'd never touched a gun, and you stood up against trained killers to protect your best friend. That takes courage I can't even imagine." She wiped her eyes. "They're going to put me on the stand tomorrow. And you're going to tell the truth. That we were ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances, who did what we had to do to survive." She did. Her testimony was raw, honest, breaking down multiple times as she described the fear, the violence, the impossible choices we'd faced. The jury was riveted. Victor's defense tried to discredit her, to paint her as a willing participant. But Zara's genuine trauma was impossible to fake. By the time she stepped down, even Victor's lawyer looked uncomfortable. Then came Adrian's testimony, delivered via video link from his secure facility. I hadn't seen him in 3 months, and the change shocked me. He'd lost weight, his face more angular, shadows under his dark eyes. But he was alive, healing. He walked the jury through his 3 years of documentation, explaining each file, each transaction, each crime in meticulous detail. His testimony lasted a week, the defense unable to shake his credibility because every claim was backed by documented evidence. When Rodriguez asked why he'd risked everything to expose the Petrovs, Adrian's answer was simple: because someone had to, and because I met people worth protecting. People who reminded me that not everyone in this world is corrupt. Some people still believe in doing the right thing, even when it costs them everything. His eyes found mine through the video screen, and I felt the weight of his words. He was talking about me, about saving his life, about refusing to abandon him even when it would have been safer. The verdict came down on a Friday afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Viktor Petrov and his associates would spend the rest of their lives in federal prison. The organization their family had built over 3 generations was dismantled, their assets seized, their network destroyed. We'd won. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. This time, I stopped to make a statement. 3 months ago, I performed CPR on a stranger having cardiac arrest. That decision changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. I witnessed crimes, faced danger, and learned that the world is far more complicated than good guys and bad guys. I took a breath. Adrian Volkov is a criminal. He stole money, broke laws, and put people at risk. But he also exposed an organization responsible for countless deaths, for trafficking, for corruption that reached the highest levels of power. He's not a hero, but he's not a monster either. He's a complicated man who made complicated choices in an impossible situation. So you're defending him? A reporter called out. I'm saying the world isn't black and white. Adrian saved my life. I saved his. And together, we helped bring down people who were truly evil. That has to count for something, later. At the apartment Zara and I had rented in Queens, paid for with a small fraction of the $50 million. Because I'd decided to accept it after all, I finally allowed myself to process everything that had happened. We'd survived. Against all odds, despite impossible circumstances, we'd survived. Zara was seeing a therapist for PTSD, working through the trauma of that night in the cabin. She'd quit her graphic design job and was studying criminal justice, talking about becoming a victim's advocate. If we went through this, she'd said, imagine how many other people get caught in these situations with no support, no resources, no one believing them. I want to help them. I was still nursing, though I'd transferred to a different hospital where my face wasn't instantly recognized. The notoriety had been overwhelming at first, but it was fading. In a few months, I'd be just another ER nurse again, except I had $50 million and the memory of a man who'd trusted me with his entire life's work. I'd put most of the money into a foundation, supporting witness protection, victim services, and programs to help people escape human trafficking. Adrian's blood money transformed into something that actually helped people. The rest I'd kept for myself and Zara. Enough that neither of us would have to worry about rent or student loans or any of the financial stress that had defined our lives before. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter. Prison mail, forwarded through multiple channels for security. Adrian's handwriting, precise and controlled. Maya, by now you've heard I'm being transferred to a minimum security facility in Oregon. Part of my plea deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced sentencing and eventual parole eligibility. I'll serve 10 years, maybe 8 with good behavior. I've been told you use the money to start a foundation, that you're helping people who've been caught in situations like ours. I can't tell you what that means to me, that something good came from all the darkness. You asked me once why I did it, why I risked everything to expose the Petrovs. The truth is, I did it for revenge at first. They killed my family. I wanted to kill their empire. But somewhere along the way, it became about more than that. It became about you. The woman who saved a stranger without hesitation, who chose courage over safety, who protected others even when it endangered herself. You reminded me that goodness exists, that not everyone is corrupt or corrupted. I'm writing to say thank you. For saving my life, yes, but more than that, for saving my soul, for showing me that redemption is possible, that one person can make a difference. and to tell you that when I get out, if I get out, I'd like to help with your foundation. If you'll have me, a criminal trying to make amends, working alongside the woman who taught him what it means to be human. Think about it. You have 8 years to decide. Yours in gratitude, Adrian. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Then I sat down and wrote back, Adrian, 8 years is a long time. A lot will change. I'll change. You'll change. The world will change. But some things won't. I'll still be a nurse, still trying to help people who need it, still believing that everyone deserves a chance at redemption, even criminals who've made terrible choices. When you get out, come find me. We'll talk about the foundation, about the future, about what comes next. I can't promise anything more than that. But I can promise I'll listen. You saved my life too, you know. Not just from the Petrovs, but from a life lived small and scared. You showed me I was braver than I thought, stronger than I believed, capable of more than I imagined. We saved each other. And maybe that's what redemption really is. 2 broken people helping each other become whole. See you in 8 years. Maya, I mailed the letter through the same secure channels, then went to work. There were patients to treat, people to help, a life to live. I'd performed CPR on a stranger on a street, and he'd whispered that I'd saved the wrong man. But he'd been wrong. I'd saved exactly the right man. The one who'd expose corruption, protect the innocent, and remind me that heroes and villains aren't as different as we'd like to believe. We're all just people, making the best choices we can with the information we have. Some of those choices are good, some are terrible, but they're all human. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. 8 years later, on a crisp October morning, I was opening the doors to the Maya Chen Foundation's new headquarters when a familiar voice spoke behind me. Hello, Maya. I turned, and there he was, Adrian Volkov, older, grayer, but with the same dark eyes that had looked at me on a sidewalk and changed both our lives forever. You're early, I said, my heart racing. Parole isn't for another month. Good behavior. And a very convincing argument from my parole officer about my rehabilitation potential. He smiled, and it reached his eyes this time. I kept my promise. I'm here to help. If you'll have me, I looked at him, ex-criminal, whistleblower, the man who'd saved my life by destroying his own. The man I'd saved right back. Welcome to the team, I said, extending my hand. He took it, his grip warm and sure. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for earning it. We walked into the building together, ready to help others find their own second chances. 2 people who'd been brought together by a moment of crisis, separated by consequence, reunited by choice. I'd performed CPR on a stranger and saved the wrong man, but in the end, he'd been exactly right.